I'm Jack Nichols and welcome to Home.
Who's going to break a 6th world title?
These two go.
He's going to do it. His first victory.
The World Championship is done. What a race it's been.
Ciao a tutti and welcome to the Autodromo Nazionale Monza for round 7 of the 2023 Formula SimRacing Academy Championship, the Italian Grand Prix, brought to you in partnership with our broadcasting partner, VCO eSports. 3 weeks ago at Spa-Francorchamps, championship leader Thomas Smith took his 4th victory in a row over Denmark's Matthias Harvig, who took his first podium, beating Giuseppe Saracino to the runners-up spot. Smith is now 40 points clear of Saracino and can mathematically wrap up the Academy title today as long as he gets another 20-point swing in his favour. My name is Edward Hunter, and alongside me for qualifying and the 32-lap race that follows is my co-commentator, Jessica Ball. Jess, it seems the unbreakable Thomas Smith is on a winning streak at the moment. Dare I say he's getting close to emulating another Dutch racing driver who's doing rather well for himself in 2023. But we have seen the likes of Single, Harvick and Saracino push him hard across the last couple of rounds. What are some of the challenges around the Parco di Monza that they're going to have to overcome to stop him sealing the title today?
Well, Ed, even though the track itself is really high speed and people may think it's easy, it's nowhere near as easy. We've got, of course, turn 1, the Variante di Riffiglio. It's a really hard braking zone where they have to brake as earlier as intended. It's a really tight right-left turn that requires a lot of curb control, and there could be collisions and penalties if they brake a bit later as well. I think I remember in 2020, Lewis Hamilton received a 10-second stop-go penalty for entering the pit, and then he passed the yellow board at the chicane as well, so they can get penalties for that as well. And also the exit the Ascari chicane as well, which is very tricky, has a left, a right, and then another left, and that's where people lose it. Another example, again, Lewis Hamilton in 2009, through the exit of that chicane, he lost it, and he went straight into the wall, unfortunately, and that's what ended his race as well. And of course we've got some other corners as well, but I think those two are the main corners to watch out for. And as I was saying that right on cue, someone has just lost it at the exit of Ascari.
Yeah, looked like one of the RBR Build Sim Evos in the black and gold livery, so that won't give them too much confidence going into qualifying. But we're looking, of course, at the hometown hero, Magic Man Alessandro Maggio, or Alex Maggio for short sometimes. He's currently set the fastest time in practice, 1:20.687. And Maggio, after retiring on the first lap for the last 5 races in a row in FSR Academy, he seems to be on the up for a change. He had a really good week subbing in at the second tier GPVWC Superlights for Valle, where he qualified 6th and finished 5th in the race, beating Stavros Mizaidis, who of course drives for Valle in a world championship. So of course he was on a different strategy to Mizaidis in that race, but that's very, very encouraging for him. He really needs to build up his confidence. Of course, Valle are the reigning teams champions, but at the moment they're not really in touch with either Ground Effect or a Super Venturi, who are the runaway points leaders at the moment. But it certainly Valle could really do with a big boost, and Alessandro Maggio, I think, in good form at the moment, which is great to see.
Yes, and he's been top in practice throughout the majority of it as well, keeping his laps consistent, and he hits the brake and marker boards for good measure, and luckily it's only a practice session and not qualifying as well. But yeah, it's always nice to see someone up there who is really who is struggling in FSR and then go up there high at the top. And it may just take one race, even if it's in another league, just to get your feet into gear and your momentum up high, and that can maybe give you the good results as well. So hopefully Maggio can keep up the good run of performances that he's had in the past week as well. And we're about to head into the qualifying session currently as well, and I wonder how close qualifying it's going to be. But we have seen a closest ever finish before, around about 0.6 of a second of each other, separating the top 6. I wonder if we're going to see that today, more than that to come very soon.
Yeah, remember last time out at Spa, it was Matthias Harvig, who took a first ever pole position in Academy with an amazing lap right at the end that beat Thomas Smith. Of course, Smith had been on pole for a couple of races in a row up to that point, had a really, really dominant performance in qualifying at Imola as well, where he beat Single by 0.2 of a second. Great to see Istvan Single back in the ground effect, by the way, and hoping to reclaim that second in the points from Giuseppe Saracino. So that is going to be an exciting little fight, I think, to look forward to. But it certainly feels like there's an air of inevitability about Smith sealing the championship with the lead that he's got. But it's so important, really, not to blow it, not to have a bad qualifying, find himself mired in the pack, and then into it. Because if you're qualifying down the order, there's potential to get stuck in the chaos at turns 1 and 2, as we see Single just negotiating it there, Jess. We saw it at Spa. We've seen it at quite a few rounds this season. Turn 1 is really deadly, and you just want to come out of it alive and then have a clean race after that.
Yeah, once you pass turn 1, then that's one of the hardest parts of the lap over, as he's passed now heading towards turn 4 and 5 as well. The annoying parts of this circuit is definitely that there's too much sausage curbs, and that could catch a lot of drivers up, and we saw that with the F2 cars in real life as well. They've caused so many safety cars in the past as well. Through the 2 Lesmos, he's passed as well. Another difficult chicane there, a medium speed right-handers through there. They require a lot of traction. You need to brake late and turn in early through there as well, and keep the car in good condition as possible. Now heading towards Ascari. It's another left, right, and then another long left. Past another sausage curb, believe it or not, and heading towards the long back straight for the final part of your lap. And then we're going to be heading towards the Alboreto curb, previously known as Parabolica, but I still like to call this Parabolica. Long sweeping right-hander. He can take it, I think, in around 6th gear as well, but some people do like to take it at higher gears for here. He goes up to the line, and he's going to be starting his lap time.
Yep, so first lap on the board now for Istvan Single. So important for him to make an impression. Here we go, into Rettifilio. He gets the turn in, just hitting the apex, riding the curbs like you say, Jess, and focusing on his exit as he goes onto the approach to Curva Grande, turn 3. Again, getting to the inside very, very early. Remember, there's no DRS available to these drivers here at Monza today, so it's all about battery management in qualifying and the race as we go into Della Roggia. And, of course, being the first man on the board, it's a purple time for Single, but keep your eyes out for the likes of Smith, Harvick, Saracino, even Scott Flack and Maggio, who we saw going quite well in practice as well, because those are going to be the contenders we expect to be up front, but that doesn't, of course, rule out anyone else from putting in a surprise performance. We also see Saracino, for the first time in a couple of races, has a teammate in the form of Roy Seifert, who's, of course, a very, very experienced German driver, competes in FS2, Formula Sprint 2 in a Grand Prix Virtual, as we see Single setting a purple middle sector, but I think his time has been beaten in the first sector as he exits Ascari. I'm trying to see who's beaten him. It is, of course, Maggio. So there we go. Maggio, very, very impressive there on his first flying run, but can he keep it through the entire lap as Miganov, who, of course, is going to be subbing in Pro later on for Valle as well, also sets a purple middle sector. But Single, that's the time to beat, starting off the bat, 120.797.
Yes, but we'll see, obviously, what the likes of Maggio can do, and also Miganov, who's setting purple first and middle sectors currently as well, as he heads towards the Parabolica chicane Callanan. At the moment, he's setting personal best everywhere, because that's their first lap, but what can he do as Thomas Smith goes fastest at the moment, but can anyone beat that? We'll have to wait and see. Maggio only goes 3rd fastest at the moment, but we are seeing other drivers improving even quicker and quicker to get into the top 10. This is Louis Smith in P20 at the moment, as he's past the sky. Once you pass that, that's another difficult part of the track where you're probably relieved that is over as well, especially with these track temperatures as well. He almost went off the track there, right? That was calling it fine, wasn't it?
Yeah, he just got his braking in his turn just a little bit late through the Alboreto corner Parabolica. And I think that cost him maybe a tenth or two there. But I think it's a little bit deceptive, because coming out of Ascari, you've got that long run to the final corner, and it's so easy just to maybe get a little bit distracted, relax a little bit too much, and then suddenly, oh my God, I've got another corner to do. You tense up, and that kind of thing can happen where you just get your last corner just a little bit misjudged there. As I apologize, I think, Jess, we can hear the building works going on next door, which I know is not your fault. But as we cut back to Saracino, and of course, it's a home race for him, as well as a lot of the valet drivers like Miganov and Maggio. So Saracino will be very, very keen to impress like he did in Spa, where he fought for the victory and, of course, hasn't won a race since Bahrain. So very, very keen to change that in the SimSpark. But no time on the board yet as he completes his outlap. And I think Scott Flagg is also on an outlap too. So two big players yet to set times on the board with 5 minutes remaining. So they're both cutting it pretty fine, Jess.
They are cutting it a bit fine, and we only got 3 rounds to go of this championship. So if they don't get a good qualifying session, it's going to lead them a lot of work to do in the race if they want to stay within the championship fight. Obviously, Smith has got a really big lead with 163 points due to the amount of wins that he's got. The lowest he'd ever finished was in P4 around Bahrain. Saracino in second on 123 points, but there's quite a few people that could potentially get the top 3 in the championship, and if they want to get a good result today, that can really help them secure that at the moment, as we're seeing Scott Flack heading towards turn number 1 for the very first time. He has had some unlucky results recently. He only finished 14th in Imola, and he did not finish in Belgium. I think he got caught up in a lap 1 incident, which wasn't ideal, but the pace has been there, hasn't it, Eddie? Finished P2 in Bahrain, so a podium could be possible for Scott.
Yeah, and I think he did qualify on the second row in Spa before getting involved with that incident with Maggio on the first lap, sadly. But I think it's hard to find someone who wasn't involved in an incident on the first lap there. But certainly Scott Flack is very important for Super Venturi in terms of securing the team's championship, for Scott Flack to score some decent points, because they are leading Ground Effect by, I think, 39 points in the end, which is it's not enough to feel too comfortable, really, because even Thomas Smith, if he wins every remaining race, as long as Ground Effect can get all 3 drivers to the flag and in point scoring positions, then they could potentially still outscore Super Venturi. So it's very, very important to Scott Flack to keep his end up and to make sure that Super Venturi aren't under threat from any of the challenges behind. As we see Saracino just slot into 5th there. Scott Flack, though, looking for a competitive time here. What's it going to be as he crosses the line? It's going to be 4th. There we go, onto the back end of the second row.
And that's where he was in Belgium as well. Let's hope that
right behind Maggio again.
Oh, yeah, and right behind Maggio again. So let's hope that deja vu doesn't happen. And that was very close for Maggio. I don't think it's going to be an improvement on his time now, but it's not. He goes right into the pit. Let's see who else on the lap. We've got Silveria in 7th position at the moment, who is on a lap time currently. He's 4 tenths behind our current pole sitter right now, so he's still got a lot of time to find in that first sector, as did a lot of the other drivers near the back as well. Turn 4, he kicked up a little bit of gravel trap, which was not the best situation as well, but we've got Brentham, who's 27.9 in the first sector, so he has improved a little bit, but still 2 tenths slower than our pole sitter, but still looking very good. Oh, he's gone off the track a little bit through the second Lesmo. I did say it would come back to bite that second Lesmo if he's not too careful.
Yeah, it's so easy to get greedy there on the exit, and the curbs can bite here. But to be fair, it's not lost him too much time, although he didn't improve on his previous personal best through the middle sector there. So now it's all about the run to the final corner, and Brandfom, he's maybe got time for one more run, but it's going to be a little bit tight here for people in the pits at the moment. I think Thomas Smith, he doesn't seem to be going anywhere. I think he thinks that 120.5 is probably going to be enough for him, which with Miganov only 35 hundredths behind him, I wouldn't feel too comfortable as Brandfom fails to improve on his previous best time. And we cut to Single, who is improving in the first sector at the very least. Through Ascari he goes, improving in the middle sector too. So now, as we see him just absolutely powering through Ascari there.
Yeah, he's two attempts down on his delta at the moment, so it doesn't look like, even though he's personal best maybe in the first and second, he may not be improving too much. He may have lost time through Ascari as he went a little bit wide through there, but we'll see. You never know. He can improve in that final sector, and making sure he goes on the front row. He's a 10th up, and it's a 120.672, which puts him into 3rd place, so not enough for pole position. We have Lucas, who is improving as well. Siviera is improving too. I'm just trying to see who else is improving. We've got Roy, who came across the line in P13 and 121.4, so he improved on his lap time, but we'll see what Siviera can do. He did not improve in the middle sector, so he will need a miraculous final sector to get into the 120s and maybe secure himself in that top 10.
Here we go. Lucas Viscott secures his 9th position with a 121.2. That's a very tidy lap to end the session there. Crucial for ground effect to have all 3 drivers once more in the top 10, of course. Here comes Silviera across the line, and he's going to remain 7th, I believe. There we go, 120.9 then, his best effort. But with a couple of seconds to go, Smith is out there, and he might actually be able to cross the line. It's going to be tight. I think he might just miss it.
I don't think he's going to do it, but we'll see. You never know. Actually, he might do it. As long
Here
as
we go then.
He gets a move on.
Is he heading for the
3,
pits or the starting
2,
line?
1.
Oh, he did it.
No, he
just
didn't.
no.
He just crossed the line.
It was the wrong line there. I was looking at it. That must have been the safety car line.
But you were following the safety car line, Ed. But I don't think anyone else is improving apart from Scott Flat, though. Is green in the first and second sector. Not purple as of yet. I'll be interested to see what Thomas Schmidt's fastest first and second sector is in just a moment. I think Miganov came across the line in P2. We got Single in P3, Maggio in P4. But can Scott Flat beat any of them and secure himself on the front row as he comes across the line? Final corner. What's going to be for Scott Flat? It's competition.
Wow, what a brilliant late effort from the Australian there. Maggio is still pushing out there as well. Matthias Harvig, who was 14th until a few moments ago, has got himself up to 6th right at the death of the session. So that's great for our podium finisher last time. And Spartan Maggio going into the pit. So clearly he didn't think that first sector was good enough. And we're seeing Velistra, who isn't improving in either sector. But it is great to see TR Motorsports by Geeks Energy back in the pack and competing, because we haven't really seen them since I think Velistra finished on the podium in Canada, as Velistra goes into the pit lane there. But there we go. It's all Super Venturi front row, and Scott Flack, who has been having a bit of a difficult time of it lately, pulling out the lap right when he needed it, Jess.
Yes, Ed, and I think there's one place where you definitely want to be at Monza. You either want to be at the front or you want to be at the back. The front, you avoid the carnage, hopefully, and make sure no one punts into you. And at the back, you try and avoid the carnage as well and maybe go a bit slower, as long as people actually get across the line quick enough as well. So, Scott Black, brilliant lap. Let's hope he can make it past lap 1 this time, Ed.
Well, fingers crossed. He has managed it before, so I see no reason for him not to be able to. But there we go. Confirmation. Scott Flack, 120.545, just 14 thousandths of a second ahead of Thomas Smith to take an excellent pole position for Superventure. And that is going to do them wonders in the Teams Championship if they can finish in that order. I don't think Thomas Smith would be too upset to end his winning record, although I'm sure he'd be very determined to carry it on nonetheless. Daniel Miganov qualifies 3rd, just behind them on the 2nd row of Istvan Single on his return, qualifying 4th, just a 10th off the pace. Then it's Alessandro Maggio in the very creditable 5th. Matthias Harvig, his late effort gets him up to 6th on the grid, with just ahead of his old rival Giuseppe Saracino. Romulo Silviera gets the Royal Blue into 8th on the grid, ahead of the 2 ground effects of Nando Massa and Lucas Viscott, who round out the top 10. In 11th place, it's Stan Vlistra for Geeks Energy, just ahead of Dan Ovebrandt from Giuseppe Canzanieri for Team GG, who will start 13th position, ahead of debutant Roy Cypher in the 2nd Sim Spark. Brisic Luxak will start 15th in the Build Sim RBR Evo, ahead of the 2 Royal Blues of Cedric Bill and Jared Batala. Then it is Andrei Borotovsky in the Loser Racing, who will start 18th, ahead of Pavel Andrzejewski in the Hyperion. Hayden Kaunan will round out the top 20 in the 2nd Loser Racing. And then the field is rounded out by Perseus Miram in the RBR Build Sim Evo in 21st, and Louis Smith bringing up the rear just under 5 seconds off the pace for Royal Blue Racing. So Louis Smith still plenty to learn, and plenty of time to learn that in the next 32 laps. So now we prepare ourselves for the start, and what could well be, if things go Thomas Smith and Super Venturi's way, the title decider in the Drivers' Championship. But that really needs Single and Saracino to have very difficult races as well. I think Saracino would have to finish 11th, Single would have to finish, I think, 7th or worse.
I think for our sake, we hope that the championship does not get decided today and it gets decided in the last race of the championship. Of course, we've got the likes of Monza today, but we've got Japan in the beginning of October, and then Brazil straight afterwards in quick succession. So let's just hope we can have a crazy championship decided at Brazil, and then all we go. But one thing we've got to mention in the proceedings as well, due to obviously what happened in Spa last week and how powerful the toe is around here, there will be no DRS at Monza, so they've got to rely on the toe quite a lot here and the slipstream. and just pure speed to get past people, because I think I remember in Spa a few weeks ago, we were saw people just getting past with DRS overtakes mainly as well. So definitely the right decision. So that was why you didn't see people using DRS on their laps as well. I assume it'll be the same as well for Pro and World coming up later on, because obviously it's running the same format. So yeah, no DRS for all three divisions tonight. It's just to make sure everything is fair for all the drivers involved, and hopefully it will allow closer racing.
Exactly, and it also means the main thing the drivers have got to manage, apart from driving around the circuit in a clean and fast fashion, is also the battery management in the hybrid power unit. So they've obviously got a certain amount of energy. It's all a big crash in the background between another Royal Blue and somebody else at Ascari. So again, everyone just getting the crashes out of the way in the warm-up, hopefully, and not going to do them on the first lap of the actual race start, because we've seen how that turns out, and it's not pretty, is it, Jess?
No, I've seen crashes like that before when I was doing some F1 commentary, and it's just not a pretty sight. But believe it or not, it used to be, I think, a longer track compared to this. It used to be 10 kilometers when it was first built in around about the 1920s, where they wanted a permanent track and this to test cars and host races. It was the third purpose-built racetrack in the world after Brooklands and Indianapolis, of course, as well. It used to have a high-speed oval with steep bankings. Of course, that was gotten rid of. I can't remember when it was rid of. I think it was in 1961 they decided, nah, they don't want that anymore as well. And they got rid of certain other things around the track as well, because I think there was someone that died as a result of a tyre flying behind Tower of Frenton back in 2001. So there was a few refurbishments there as well. But yeah, it was originally 10 kilometres, but now it's a 5.5 kilometre track. And obviously the original track has a few DRS zones, but not today. But we've got a few great racing to get started with, Ed. And most people have gone for hards. I don't think anyone's gone for the mediums, unless it's taken a while to update. But I'll let you take us through the grid.
Absolutely. So it's an all Super Venturi front row with Scott Flack leading Thomas Smith, our championship leader. Then it is Daniel Miganov in the valet and Istvan Single in the ground effect, making up row 2. Row 3 is Alessandro Maggio and Matthias Harvig, ahead of row 4, which is occupied by Giuseppe Saracino and Romulo Silveira. Row 5 is going to be occupied by the two ground effects of Nandor Marsa and Lucas Viscott, rounding out the top 10. Row 6 is Stan Valistra and Dan Ove Brandfolm in the valet. Row 7 occupied by Giuseppe Saracino in the Team GG, with Roy Seifert making his debut in 14th. Then in 15th, it's Grisik, Luxak, and Cedric Bill in 16th. In 17th, it's Jared Batala and Andrei Borotowski in the Loser Racing car. In 19th, it's Pavel Andrzejewski in the Sol Hyperion, ahead of Hayden Kalnan. Number 73, Loser Racing, rounding out the top 20, just ahead of Perseus Miram and Louis Smith, who occupy the back row of the field and are certainly looking to make progress as they see the chaos that will no doubt unfold in front of them. Let's hope it's an orderly chaos rather than just a chaotic chaos, where we did see we had a bit of difficulty getting the race underway in Spa, to put it mildly. But yeah, hopefully we will get, like you say, Jess, the tyre choices updating, because it's probably going to fluctuate until midway through the first lap, and then we'll know for sure which tyres all of the front runners are on. But it'll be interesting to see if anybody makes a brave call to start on the mediums and try and pull away or make positions early in the race. I wouldn't put it past one of the Super Venturis trying to pull that off and the other one letting them through to do it. But you've really got to watch out for those valets, the ground effect of Single, and maybe even Harvig and Saracino. They could definitely get their way into the fight today, couldn't they, Jess?
I think if I was in the top 3, I would definitely start on the mediums, because surely you're going to be getting away quite nicely with them, and the hards starting near the front, it's probably going to be quite difficult. So if it's true that the two Super Venturi cars are starting on the memes, that's definitely the right decision. And of course we've got Louis Smith, who's starting on the memes as well. Wise move for him, because he wants to climb his way through the order as well. But we're about to start with the 5 red lights. 39 degrees track temperature, 22 degrees ambient temperature. It is quite hot in Monza, just like it is currently in my part of the world in the UK. That's why I have my fan on currently in my room, so apologies.
Off we go. And the Super Venturis get off the front row, and it's Scott Flack who's made an excellent start as he seeks his first win of the season. But Thomas Smith is alongside him. The engine just smoking that a little bit as they go into the red of Fidio. Oh, and the ground effect crashes into the two Royal Blues and Harvick. And I think that's Maggio. Oh, and Miganov that were both collected there. So Single gets through, and it's an absolute car park at turn one, and the red flag has been called.
Well, not really that surprised. I think half the grid DNF'd in that one. And it was just absolute chaos, but yeah.
Oh dear, not the Massa. His car looks more like a wrecked Formula Ford with no front and rear wings, and the steering doesn't look too healthy either. But that will get fixed, of course, for the proper start. But wow, that was definitely unexpected there, and it happened because one of the ground effects just, I think, completely got on the grass and couldn't slow down. It reminded me a bit of the Vitantonio Liuzzi crash in his HRT back in 2011, I think it was, Jess.
Yeah, they've been told to maintain position in the track, which is probably quite difficult for the drivers with damage. But yeah, that basically they have to be where they started, because otherwise there could be, I think, a lot more chaos at the moment. But yeah, as long as they maintain position, they should be fine. But I think the first red flag I witnessed in a long time.
Oh, and another crash.
Another crash.
That's Patala hitting the back of the already damaged Nandor Massa, and they are stuck on the run, just under the old branking at the bridge on the run into Ascari. Oh dear, and we're seeing Massa retiring from the race before it's even really begun. Be interested to see if they try and restart it, whether this lap is even going to count or not. But Single has got back to the pits before either Smith or Flack, so I imagine that's one of the reasons why Cas Rietveld on race direction and on broadcast direction, so he's on double duty today, ladies and gents, doing an excellent job so far, I must say. He must be a bit annoyed with Single because he's absolutely gained positions by ignoring the red flag, essentially, and overtaking the two Super Venturis.
And I think he'll probably get told off for that, won't he?
He's actually not gone into the pits. He's just carried on here.
Yeah, he'll definitely get told, because we heard at the race direction as well. That they've been told to come into the pits. So I wonder if he's going to get a penalty for that, because everyone else, I think there's still quite a few people that are still circulating on track. I think those were the ones who've got damage as well. They're crawling quite slowly, but yeah, surely everyone will be told now, because I think the sooner we can get started, the better, to be honest, as well. But anyway, there's quite a few rumblings going on in the chat, but I won't obviously say too much into it. But yeah, we don't want to talk to you a little bit about the action at the moment, because there's nothing going on. So we'll wait for the action to recontinue again, and hopefully we'll get a much cleaner start.
But this must be a very, very stressful situation for Super Venturi and for Scott Flack especially, because he did all that brilliant work to get on pole position, and now a delay. It's always when there's a delay that it turns into a bit of a mental game. You've got to make sure you're not distracted, and you don't. We even got a little bit caught out by the start there, and I think some of the drivers did as well by how soon it was. But you do really need to be on your toes and make sure you don't get too distracted during these delays. Even just, making sure you've got a bit of water next to you so you don't get overheated in this intense heat that we're seeing in some parts of the world today on this Sunday in September. But yeah, these are the kind of moments where you just need to keep cool, need to keep calm, don't you, Jess?
I think we obviously have to keep hydrated in the commentary box as well. It's not just the drivers racing, it's people watching and us spectating as well. So hopefully you guys in the chat will probably be getting the hydration as well.
So we're getting confirmation then from race control that the order is going to be the same as the qualifying order. And we're even being warned that the race may be called off if there's any more shenanigans on the first lap that ends in a massive car park where nobody can get through. So everyone has to be on their best behavior. And this is tense for everyone now, Jess, because the actual race is on the line. And we know everyone in the Academy is learning their craft, so we can't be too harsh on these drivers because they're still learning as they go. But they need to keep it clean. So caution is definitely going to be the order of the day on the run into turn one.
I did say in the broadcast that they have to brake early. It is really, really difficult.
Some of them should have listened to you.
Yeah, they should have listened to me. I know when I do it in the F1 games, the racing line tells you to brake at one point, but it's too late to do so. So you've got to brake earlier than you think, really, in order to do so. I think don't brake as if you did a qualifying lap. brake to avoid carnage in front of you. Brake a bit earlier. If everyone brakes earlier and at the right point, then they should have no problem getting through turn 1. Once they get through turn 1, that is when they can start going through some moves potentially as well. So hopefully they've learnt their lessons as well. Obviously we've seen F2s like this, but at least they were able to keep going. So the drivers have been warned. If there's any more shenanigans, we may not have a race at all. And if you're below Thomas Smith in the championship, you don't want to have this race aborted. You want to have 3 chances to stop the likes of Smith taking the title. So if this race is called off, more chance for Smith to take the title to Japan next week.
Yeah, but certainly for someone like Smith, for Flaxer and Maggio, who've not seen the end of a first lap in a long while, I think they'll be very relieved that there is a restart. And of course, it also, not that I imagine too many people will change their tyre choices, but it does give that little opportunity to reset, maybe take a risk on the medium if you felt there was a little bit more grip on the brief formation lap that you did get to do. But at track temperature, it's roughly the same as it was before. I think it's gone down very slightly, Jess, to 37.5 degrees.
Yeah, so probably that will help them a little bit as well. And surely with the tyre warm-up, that's going to be even more critical as well, because the track will be a bit cooler than intended as well. Interestingly, that the driver in P14 is opted to start on the mediums. This time we've got Scott Flack and Thomas Smith who decided to go onto the mediums once again, but everyone else is opting for the hard compounded tyres so they can make their way through the field. So if this happened in Academy, the same thing that happened earlier, I can't imagine what it's going to be like in Pro later. But Pro, usually it's clean in turn 1, better than Academy anyway. They probably know what to do and done a bit of practice at the moment as well. But yeah, all cars are allowed to obviously restart again, regardless if they've been involved in the incident or not. So this is their second chance to do it, and we won't miss a start this time. I'll less waffle from me this time.
I did notice on the first start that Thomas Smith braked really late for his spot on the grid and briefly overtook Scott Flack before reversing back into second on the grid. This time, yeah, he certainly remembered what happened last time and decided not to repeat that mistake. So Super Venturi, hopefully they'll be looking to man. They definitely want one of their drivers to win, but they just want to make sure they don't take each other out, because that could be absolutely disastrous for them. So it's very, very tight into that first chicane, as we've seen. And this is where it's so, so important for everyone to keep their head firmly planted on the top of their neck, on their shoulders, and not lose their head completely, as we have seen happen on a couple of occasions in the past. But hopefully we can put that behind us now, as the lights are about to come on, and we'll be getting underway at Monza for round 7. The lights go off now, and we are racing at Monza, and it's a good getaway from Single. In fact, the two Super Venturis side by side, and it's Smith who takes the inside, going into the Rettifilio. Some of the engines smoking, and it looks like Flack is going to try and hold on around the outside. He's got the inside for turn 2, so Scott Flack holds on to the lead as Harvick has made a good getaway. He's got past both the valets of Miganov and Maggio. Single has slotted his way up into third, so we could see Matthias Harvick and Single have a great fight for the final spot on the podium here. But the two Super Venturis have absolutely flown away at this start as Miganov goes around the outside of Harvick into Della Roggia.
A lot cleaner start this time. I think they
whoa!
Almost flew too soon. I think there was someone that was
That's
spinning
Massa
in the background. That's Massa that spun as well. So not the start of lap 1 he would have wanted. And as we were saying, qualifying is really important around here. Scott Flack has avoided all the trouble, same with Smith as well, and I think they could probably work together to help Smith increase that gap in the championship. And Saracino is going to try and get past Maggio for P6. He's had a pretty decent start as well. Yellow flag in the background. I believe that's with Smith, who is not even got going into, I think, one of the Lesmos. So not ideal for him. Everyone else is managing to get their car surviving that one at least, which is always a good thing, whereas we've got Smith that's limping quite slowly through and towards the sky coming up. But we're starting on lap 2. We can see someone going side by side in
Miganov,
the background.
going
That's
for third.
Going for third place on Single as well, and down the inside he goes, and he's up to third. So brilliant stuff from them as well, avoiding that chicane as well. We've been seeing in real life where people have cut the chicane, but someone's done that.
That's Velistra, and I think
He's
Boratowski.
out.
They came together there, and Velistra has retired from the race. So they just made contact at the apex of turn 1 and then just went into the runoff. It looked like Boratowski is still going down in 20th now, just behind Massa, who we saw spun around on that first lap. And there's a big battle for 17th here between Kalnan, Brandfarm, and Massa. Massa going round the outside of Hayden Kalnan into De La Roggia. Great recovery from Nando Massa then. He's not let that first lap spin put him off. And Hayden Kalnan now finds himself under pressure from Brandfarm as they go towards Lesmo 1. But wow, Miganov gave a great demonstration of how powerful the slipstream can be there. And Single needs to make sure he stays close to take advantage here. The valets do look very, very quick. And Maggio, let's give an honorable mention to him. This is the first time in 5 races he's seen the end of the first lap. So if nothing else, that's a huge, huge relief for him.
We're going to have a look at the replay, I'm guessing, of the start.
This is the crash.
No, that was the crash that happened. Okay, not the start.
The Velistra hits the back of Brandfarm, and then there's a spin in the background while the Build Sim RBR Evo just completely losing it there.
The troubled corner. The troubled corner of turn 1, the Rasfidio chicane can catch a lot of people that we were expecting. Trouble on lap 1, but on lap 2, come on guys, they need to be, I think, a lot cleaner in this as well. But we are seeing a move for 12th place. Down the inside he goes in towards turn 1, even before the braking zone. So nice move done on lap 3, and he's up to 12th.
Yeah, good move by Pavel Andrzejewski in the Hyperion to demote Canzonieri. And Giuseppe Canzonieri, his home race in the Team GG car, will be desperate to get back through. But all those guys on the hard tyres, the reason the Super Venturis have made hay is because they're both on the mediums. The only other medium runner in the race is, of course, Roy Seifert in the SimSpark, who's currently running in 10th, a couple of places behind his teammate Saracino, who we see on screen at the moment. Oh! And that's Miriam, who we saw spinning earlier, I think, in trouble again, losing his front wing, and he seems like he hit the back of somebody. Oh! And that's great evasive maneuvers there from Hayden Kalnan. Really had to have about him there to avoid the slowing car on the exit there of De La Roggia.
So this is what happened then. It's of course the tracks are riding on board with him at the moment, heading towards turn 4 and 5, and they just couldn't avoid each other, could they? Maybe one of them must have broke a bit.
And those
later.
two, technically that's Batala he's hit the back of, and Jared Batala in the Royal Blue, that's the RBR, Royal Blue Build Sim Eva. They're technically sort of sister teams, so it's not great for them to be taking each other out like that. And Gerard Batala, I'm sure would be feeling a little bit aggrieved with Perseus Miram for that, because that was a bit needless, to say the least. And now Harvig is under pressure from Maggio in the battle for 5th position here. So this is a great train of cars that Matthias Harvig, the independent Danish driver, is just holding off very, very convincingly, as he did at Spa, where he finished 2nd. And Speracino is just behind Maggio as well. So Maggio's got the inside then for De La Roggia and overtakes before they get to the braking zone. So Maggio, the Magic Man, is on the move at Monza. How many M's can I fit into that sentence? Yes, that's at least 3.
Probably a lot of them as well in one sentence. Maggio, Mateus, and lots of others, which we won't say at the moment. But we've got Biscott in P8 at the moment as he's passed the second. Lesmo has got a brilliant toe from Silviera, so he's running a low downforce setup. Bearing in mind, one thing we forget to mention, the lower downforce setup that you have around this track, the better, the higher wings that you're running, you're gonna get through the corners nicely, but through these straights like these, you're just gonna be losing so much time. So bearing in mind, they would have had to practice with a lower downforce setup than they intended. Some drivers may not like the lower downforce cars and prefer tracks with medium downforce setups like I do, but they just have to learn to live with it as they pass the Alboreto curve now currently as well. No DRS to contend with, but they're still finding ways to overtake anyway. The gap to the leader, 1.6 seconds, but we can see a move potentially. On 5th place is Harvig versus Maggio in towards turn number 1. Maggio closed the door, brakes earlier than intended, which is what I told people to do, so he must have followed my instruction. Maggio's having a lot better race than the last time we saw him in Spa, and to be honest, if you're qualifying higher on the grid, of course you'll try and avoid the carnage, and that is exactly what he's doing.
Exactly, we're seeing some lap traffic. That must be Miram, who's already being lapped after his crash with Batala. And so that's going to potentially be a bit of an issue for the pack to negotiate. Miganov's got through now. Single has got to do it before Maggio catches up to him. So it's very crucial for Maggio to break away from Harvig at this phase of the race, because of course he is creating a big hole in the air for Matthias Harvig to follow him through. And I think if Maggio can break away, we're potentially going to see the rest of the race a battle for 6th place between Harvig and Saracino, like we've seen for the last 2 races actually in Imola and Spa. So Harvig and Saracino, they seem to be inseparable. I wouldn't say best of buddies, but certainly they seem to have a lot of fun racing with each other, and they keep it very, very clean as well. So I imagine we're going to see much the same for the next 28 odd laps or so.
It's always great to watch them two fighting for position. They always try and keep it clean. They always leave it as much space as well. And I think it's going to go on for laps and laps. But I think he's found a bit more of a toe on this lap as well. But will Maggio do the same thing and break a bit earlier to stop Harvig from even getting past him? Now, I think he's going to move to the right potentially. Nope, they're not. They're staying behind. And I think they're saving a bit of battery as well. And one driver's being cut off the circuit.
That's Miran being lapped.
That's Miran being lapped. Okay, so he's forced to cut the chicane to make sure he doesn't cause any trouble on the track. And that is not ideal to be lapped on lap 6 or 32 already. But at least he's still in this race and he could plough on as well. And he's on the hard compounded tyres currently as well. And this group of cars that we're watching at the moment, they're all on the same tyre as well. So it may come down to setup as to who gets the moves done potentially. But we got the driver in P9 on the medium tyres, and I'm surprised he hasn't made any headway at the moment. And believe it or not, he's under pressure from the driver in P10 currently, more than the drivers in front of him. So he needs to get past ASAP because he is struggling on those mediums.
I think he has been held up trying to get his way back through the pack, because Seifert started, I think, 14th, was in 10th a while ago and has now got up to 9th. So I actually think Roy Seifert having a pretty decent run. But yeah, we are starting to see some of the medium runners like Seifert struggling a little bit as we're seeing the hards really come into their own as the temperatures start to go up again. It's nearly 40 degrees again here in Parco di Monza. But up front, Scott Flack and Smith. The good thing for Smith is he can just about still get the slipstream off of his teammate, and so he hasn't got to worry too much about Miganov at this phase. Oh, look at the speed that Canzonieri has got over Roy Seifert there. That wasn't even a contest there. Seifert may be saving battery for later on, but the medium's looking a little bit spent, Jess. I think you may be right.
Yeah, I'm surprised that the crossover point is hitting some people earlier than expected. So it could be down to the tyre management, the tyre temperatures. Obviously, it's been a bit hotter than usual, so maybe they were pushing too much at the start of the race and not managing it to its potential, because even though you'd be good at the start, towards the middle of your stint, which is around about now, you're really going to start to lose a bit of grip and you'll gain a bit more understeer as well. So it's just about managing your tyres a little bit better than what we've seen from Seifert in the past. So I think he's got a lot of work to do to get himself into P9 as well. But to be honest, there could be other people that could struggle on the hard compounded tyres as well. He will have to pit onto a set of hard tyres eventually. He can't, basically he couldn't avoid them. He has to go on the hards, because otherwise he could get disqualified from that as well. But yeah, lots of action still to go on as well. Not much happening near the front, but we've still got a midfield battle happening between the likes of Miganov, Single, Maggio and Harvig that can still spice up this race, Ed.
Certainly, but you've got to look at the lap times of those two Super Venturis. Last lap round, 125.9, 125.7. It was a high 126 last time round for Smith. So at some point, these mediums are going to drop off, and Miganov, Single, Maggio, Harvig are going to start consistently lapping quicker and closing down that 3-second gap. So it's crucial that both Super Venturis have been able to build that gap as big as they have, because Miganov and Single spent the first couple of laps fighting each other and have now sort of settled into a rhythm. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how things play out from here on, Jess.
Yes, and don't forget, make sure you do subscribe to the channel as well. We don't stream, just stream Academy. We also got Pro on at half-4, and then we got World Championships on at half-6 as well. So we've got 2 more divisions after this, but we've still got more laps to go of this one as well. I'm just looking at Smith's lap times. He's gained quite a few attempts on Scott Flack at the moment up front, so maybe he's going to try and gain more to get an overtake. It will be nice to see a fight between the two Super Venturis, but bearing in mind, Smith's got a championship to win as well. Even though he's got 3 chances to claim it, ideally he wants to claim it as early as he possibly can. So, but Single and Saracino are not having bad races, actually having decent races, so it's more than likely they won't get decided today anyway. But the more points he scores today, the less points he has to worry about when he possibly could clinch the title in the final 3 rounds as well. But Smith then, he's lost a bit of time in the final set too, actually. He's lost about 3 tenths, but he's getting it all back in towards turn number 1, and then he's lost it again. So, yeah, he's probably struggling again a little bit on these tyres compared to Scott Flack.
Yeah, and certainly following in Scott Flack's wake is probably not all that healthy for the tyres, especially in this early phase on the mediums. But the other thing is, could Thomas Smith be pushing his tyres a bit further to pit first to undercut his teammate? Scott Flack, of course, is fighting for his first win in academies. Oh, we see Maggio just cutting the chicane, getting a little bit too close to the back of Single. We did see Single just defending thin air effectively from the inside into Retifilia in the first chicane. And now we are starting to see Maggio make a mistake under pressure as well. He's still got half. Oh, and we see one of the Super Entry spun around. And oh no, it's Scott Flack from the lead. He's absolutely dropped it at Lesmo 2. Miganov has got by Smith as well. So Daniel Miganov leads from Thomas Smith. And Smith is going to have to pit first. So all of a sudden, Daniel Miganov has been gifted a leading position here.
So what's happened is, of course, that we were watching on board with someone else, and then chaos happened at the front. So there is Scott Flack running on board with, so maybe he lost it on his own. He lost it on his own. He lost it on his own. His teammate was trying to avoid it. And then we got Miganov that's going to try and dive it up the inside. There you go. Boom. Capitalizing on the mistake of the 2 Super Venturis, and he's leading the way. And that is a shame for Scott Flack to lose many positions like that. He just can't get any good luck at the moment in this championship.
Yeah, and you have to say he was leading comfortably. He had things under control on one tiny area where he just got a tank slapper coming out of Lesmo 2, compromised him completely. But Smith was very, very on his toes there, very, very aware of the situation in front of him, reacted immediately, slowed right down. So he could have easily crashed into his teammate, being first on the scene as we see Saracino starting to put pressure on Matthias Harvig for what is now 4th in the race, with Scott Flack down in 8th. On the mediums. So Scott Flack did get going again at least, but that could have been a lot worse for Super Venturi if they'd hit each other there. So Thomas Smith still in the fight for this win if he can just stick to the back of Miganov and use that slipstream to his advantage, because he did hold off Single just at bay. Single had a little run around the outside last lap around at Ascari, and Thomas Smith was very much sort of, no, I'm still in this race, you're not coming through, buddy.
Yeah, I'm relieved it wasn't them hitting each other, because I think that was the worries that I was having, as someone has gone wide in at the back.
That's Maggio who's lost his front wing.
Maggio lost his front wing.
Oh dear, so that's a big shame. We're starting to see big mistakes creeping into this race. So Maggio on the next lap round, I think, has potentially hit the back of someone, and that's why he's dropped out of 4th position.
Yeah, so there's lots of replays today, but we're going to see how this happened. Again, turn 1.
He just hits the back of Single. So Single was a little bit held up by Smith, actually, into the braking zone there. And Maggio just comes steaming in, gets completely caught out here. Oh, yeah, he just gets a twitch on in the middle of the braking zone, right at the apex. And, yeah, he couldn't make any evasive maneuvers because he was already on the inside, Jess.
At least he was going to gain some time on the straights. But in the corners, through the Lesmos, you're going to struggle. So, there we go. It's all... Saracino almost had a little bit of a moment heading towards turn 4 and 5 there, but luckily he got his car right under control as he's been chased by Single as well too.
Single's made a mistake, he's dropped out of 3rd.
Single's made a mistake, yeah, he was in 3rd, and Harvig's up to 3rd as well, so the positions are changing left, right and centre. We're only on lap 11.
Yeah, but currently it's all going the way of Miganov at the moment, because these guys, they just keep squabbling with each other, making mistakes, changing positions. Miganov has now found himself in a comfortably untroubled position, much like Scott Flack found himself earlier on. But of course, Miganov on the harder tyres, he's going to be able to go on much longer in this race than Thomas Smith. Although I don't think Smith will have destroyed his tyres braking to avoid Flack. Flack, I think, his mediums will be in much worse condition than either of the other 2 runners.
Yeah, we will see what Harvey could do then, and I think there's going to be a lot of slipstream chicken going on here on this lap, I have to say, as well, and that will allow the likes of Schmidt to gain advantage as well. Heading towards turn number 1, the Retifilia chicane. 5 cars separating by less than 2 seconds, so they could potentially be on for this race victory still, but bearing in mind, of course, they've got to make their pit stops. Track temperature still relatively stable, still quite hot though, so that is what the drivers have to manage. Now heading towards turn number 4 then for the 12th time, all managing to go a-okay. Oh, is that Harvey has got a bit squirmy there through the exit of turn 5. Now heading towards the first Lesmo, And Harvey's going to gain the time again, hopefully. But he would have tried to get the move on Smith and one of the Lesmos there if he didn't make that mistake there through turn 4 and 5. But he's going to gain some pace. And we are seeing Smith using the battery in the background, so that is why he's gained a little bit more on the straight. But I would like to see who's using the battery when as well, because that's what they have to rely on more than the DRS this week. Because don't forget, no DRS.
Yeah, you saw Smith really struggling for Ascari there. The mediums are well and truly past their best on lap 12 then. So Harvick senses an opportunity here. Remember, he fought so hard with Smith for the lead for quite a while. Oh, but look at the deployment from the hybrid battery on that Super Venturi. So Smith actually driving very, very sensibly, and that's why he's been able to stay just within the slipstream of Miganov, and that is going to save him just that little bit as well from Harvick. And Harvick still has got the Sim Spark of Giuseppe Saracino all over his rear gearbox here. But the two of them have done very, very well to clear the ground effect of Single in this. So Single on his return, making that little mistake. We just caught the end of, I think he must have made it coming out of the first chicane through Curva Grande, because Saracino just went round the outside of him. And we see the first pit stop of the race. That's Canzonieri and Seifert. So Canzonieri started on the hards, but Seifert started on the mediums. Oh, very long start. So I think Canzonieri might have some damage or potentially some other issue that we're not aware of that is being resolved here. But here is Andrzejewski holding off Brandfarm. Remember, Brandfarm had a really tough first lap, and he's already gotten back into the top 9, which is an amazing recovery. Master as well into the top 11 after being spun around on the first lap. So it's only taken 13 laps, but they've made their way through the lower end of the midfield, and now this is where things could get very, very interesting.
I think a lot of these things could get interesting as the race goes on, and will the likes of Miganov decide to cover off the Smith and Harvick and pit early, or will one of the ones in this train go and do so? I think if I was Saracino, I would take that advantage and pit earlier than your rivals, bearing in mind Smith's on the mean, so he will definitely have to pit first. But out of the hard runners, I think Saracino will be the one to blink. But anyway, Saracino is looking a lot quicker than Harvick in this straight as he heads towards turn number 1, probably running a bit lower downforce, and Harvick defends for Saracino very nicely indeed, as all Saracino's made a mistake once more, clipping the curb ever so slightly and having a bit of a bump, which is not ideal from him.
Yeah, Saracino wasn't really alongside enough around the outside. Let's see if Brandfarm can do it a little bit better on Pavel Andrzejewski. Andrzejewski's still holding the inside. Brandfarm's going to have to back out here, and indeed he does, because he was stuck on the inside there. Just enough space left from Andrzejewski from what's a very, very tight Rotofibio chicane. And there we go. Brandfarm is denied then as we cut back to Smith, who's still under a lot of pressure from Matthias Harvey. This is an excellent fight. The top 5 all separated by about 2 seconds at the moment, Jess. So Thomas Smith has really got to fight to hold on to this track position, because that's really going to benefit him later on when he switches to the hards. Saracino going around the outside on the run into Ascari, past Matthias Harvey, finally getting that 4th position off of him.
That was absolutely beautiful move from him. He waited until the least likely opportunity to make the overtake, and he's done it as well. But Harvey is going to get, I think, a little bit of slipstream heading towards turn 1 as well. So he is very close to Saracino getting towards the Alboreto curb. So he's going to try and follow him through there as well. But let's see what happens when they go on to this straight as well. And I think Smith must be being a bit worried that Saracino could close him up sooner rather than later as well. So I think if I was Smith, I would pit to try and avoid the potential traffic, but I'm guessing he just wants to be in a battle for a long time to come. And in FSR is also about having fun, and but you don't want to lose too much time. As we also got Scott Flatt, who's coming into the pits, our pole sitter. Not had the best at race so far, but at least he's still in this race. He could still score some decent points if he could keep this up as well. But yes, he's one of the first of the big hitters to come in.
Yeah, and I think this is turning pretty much into a one-stop race for the front runners. So about half distance, lap 15, is about the right time for Flack to plonk on the hards and see if he can try and undercut those ahead. You see so much, how much Smith was struggling there for Lesmo 1 on the sort of, he's got a bit of a slide on in mid-corner there. And that is going to allow Saracino to really challenge him here. Harvick, his best hope is just to stay in the slipstream and pick up the pieces here, and hope that maybe if Saracino gets delayed, he can get back through again onto the podium. But this is very, very tense, and it's allowed Miganov to slip away to the tune of about a second now. So Smith, he's not quite looking as comfortable as he was a few laps ago, but he is on those tyres, which are very much past the best. He's the only medium runner who's staying out there at the moment, so I suspect Smith's going to come in before too long.
Yeah, I think if Smith does not come in now, he's going to lose so much time, and I think he's choosing to staying out because of it. But here comes Harvick. Is he going to gain the slipstream he needs as well? And I think without I think if they had DRS enabled, he would have got the moves done, and it just would have been ping pong going all throughout the lap. So I'm pretty relieved that there's no DRS this weekend.
Yeah, I think that would just make things really, really chaotic, especially judging by some of the attempts to start this race earlier on. But we won't dwell on that too much because we're seeing some excellent close fighting going on at the moment. Looks a little bit like Saracino moves around in Smith's mirrors that Single is starting to just lose touch with the back of Harvick. So perhaps a bit of tyre saving going on for the ground effect driver at this phase. But he has got his teammate Viscott a long way down in 6th behind him. So there's no threat from behind for Single. So I wonder if Ground Effect might try something brave on the strategy here to try and gain back ground here. We could see a Single might even be the first of these hard runners to pit. But the problem is, if you pit for the mediums now, you've got a long way to go on them, and they could well be toast by the end of this.
And there's no safety cars as well. So with most of these I've commentated on, they're maybe thinking, I'll stay out a bit longer to potential threat of safety cars. But no safety cars in FSR, so it's just about managing your strategy and seeing if it works. Because I remember commentating, I think it was Imola Academy. No, it wasn't Imola. It was Canada where we saw people fighting for the lead. It was the one who was on the freshies and softer tire at the end that was able to take the victory. Could we see something similar here with the likes of Miganov going on to a set of mediums later? We'll have to wait and see. Smith is taking those tyres a bit longer than expected, as is some of the other drivers as well. Shame about the forward timers we got so far in this race, but people are starting to find the exit of turn 1 even more tricky now. But look at this, Harvey's got a good one past the Curva Grande as well. As the track gets hotter and hotter, he can use to his advantage. He goes to the left, he thinks about it, he thinks about it through turn number 4. Ooh,
and he spun around!
Oh. Has lost it, and it'll be nice to see an onboard shot of that, because that could have... Well, I think that could be curtains for Saracino.
And I think that was contact there from Harvick. So Harvick was thinking about it. He was sort of playing around with committing. Oh, he braked a little bit late, and the front wing tagged the rear wheel there. So I think Saracino may feel he was the innocent party here. But Harvick, yeah, you look, he gets a bit... I think he didn't expect Saracino to brake as early as he did there for the corner. And he thought, well, I have the inside here. Yeah, that felt a little bit clumsy, in my opinion, Jess. It just... maybe that could have been avoided there.
And could that be Saracino's championship chances gone, Ed?
Quite possibly, yeah. He's down to 11th now, missing that front wing. He needs to finish in the top 11 if Smith wins. But of course, Smith is currently 2nd at the moment. So I think that might change where he needs to finish mathematically to keep the points battle alive. Single in 4th, that would keep him in the fight as well. So either way, at the moment, Thomas Smith is not in a championship ceiling position. But that is a huge, huge setback for Saracino, as you rightly point out.
Yeah, but it's good for Single, who's going to gain more points on Saracino in the championship as well, because Single is in 4th. He's a little bit further away from Harvick at the moment, but he's still got plenty of laps to go to try and catch him up anyway, so that fight is going to be interesting. Of course, we also got the fight between Brendholm and Androwski as well in the background. We've got Bill as well to watch out for. We've got Saracino, who has been forced to pit earlier than expected, but we have seen Schmidt take those mediums for like 18 laps already, so if anyone could take those mediums until the end of the race, Saracino can, but he's going to be forced potentially to be a lap down as well. But I'm wondering, why is Schmidt staying out so long? Because he knows everyone is going to be on the fresher tyres at the end of it.
Oh, and there is the sad side of Saracino having the front wing reattached, but now he's back in the race. Still a good chance of points here, but currently if Saracino finishes 17th, I believe he will be out of the points. Needs to make sure he doesn't lose 20 points to Thomas Smith. Smith, at the current moment, will be scoring 25 points. I believe you only get... I'm pretty sure you get less than... I think you only get about 5 points for 17th there. As we see Harvick getting past Thomas Smith, because Smith is now in the pit lane along with Single, just as Saracino is leaving almost a lap behind them.
Well, you see, he's probably watched the stream and like, you know what, oh, bum, I forgot to pit. So he's come into the pits.
Interesting language there used by our great commentator, Jessica Ball there.
Sorry. I was going to say a swear word, but we're not allowed to swear in FSR.
Okay, I guess it was a good save then. A rush of activity then, as we see Brandfarm and Andrzejewski joining Single and and Thomas Smith, and it looks like somebody else in there as well, Bortowski, of course. So a lot of the hard runners actually deciding they can't go any further, and they think now is the right time to switch to the medium. So Scott Flack, he has re-emerged about 5 seconds behind Smith now. The Super Venturis holding 5th and 6th, having switched to the harder tyres, and everyone ahead of them is yet to stop as well. So we could see the likes of Maggio, Branfom, Andrzejewski, Cypher, Bill, and of course, it's a long stop for Single, actually. He's been in there a while. Only just coming out now, I think, ahead of Cannon.
Harvick's gained quite a bit of time on Miganov. He's
Yes.
going to go side by side into the entry of the Alboreto curve as well. Miganov covers him off on the entry. And that was very, very tight, but I think Harvick is going to stay behind as we head towards the start-finish straight then to start lap 20.
Oh, and he hits him!
That's huge!
And that is exactly what we were warning before. The pit entry is blocked by Miganov there, and Harvick just got completely caught out. Oh, and that looks like, is that Viscott that's just tagged the valet as well. That's a huge setback for Miganov, who the tyres were wearing out there, but this potentially hands the race back into the lap of Super Venturi, bizarrely there, because Harvick and Miganov completely came to blows there. That's cost them a load of time.
So much drama has happened in this race, Ed. We just don't know where to look at the moment. So we'll look at the pit lane drama that's in set. Do you think that Harvick has broken it later? Yeah, he did.
Oh, definitely. And you
he
even
was
saw
overtaking the pit lane.
Miganov moved all the way to the right as well before he slowed down to try, because he thought it was going to be tight coming in. Because there was space, but because Harvick had to react instantly, he just got completely caught out there. And I think it was a late decision from Harvick to potentially come and pit as well, maybe. Oh, that's so unfortunate as well. And it's such a shame as well that Miganov blocked the pit entry as well to hold them both up even further. So, yeah, that couldn't have gone much worse for either of them. And we also saw Single retiring from the race just before that. So I'm not sure what happened to Istvan Single, but that's a huge shame for him as well.
So we could see Smith, if he wins this race, could we see the championship wrapped up?
Might even have to finish there. Single just went straight into the garage, so there was something else clearly affecting the ground effect driver, and that's going to be 2 races in a row where he scores no points, which is a huge setback for him. And potentially, even though Saracino's down in 14th, he could well hold on to second in the points. And
oh yeah, he could. So I forgot about Saracino. With him just finishing this race, he could still be in the title fight.
Yeah, so all of a sudden, Smith has, by pure virtue of avoiding Scott Flack and just hanging on that medium tire stint, everything is falling into his lap at the moment, and we see
and everything's falling into Scott Flack, because don't forget he had some trouble in the early part of the race, and he's avoided, I think, a lot more than he was expecting. I think he couldn't believe what has happened to the leaders before he pitted. So there we go, with Flack and Smith pitting earlier, they've avoided that. And then the top 2, Maggio's in P3 as well. Has he pitted?
He has, yes. So I think Maggio actually, if anything, has pit earlier for the hard tire. So Maggio went pit on lap 14. He's done 6 laps on the hard tire, the flat Cas, sorry. He's done 6 laps. Maggio has done 11 because he's on lap 9. Smith has done 2 laps, so he's pit later than all of them. No wonder he's pulling away from his teammate at the moment. Then we got all the people who started on the hards and have switched to the medium. So that's Viscott leading that train from 7 seconds ahead of Branfom. So Viscott is one of the few who's just stayed out of trouble at the moment. He's literally only done 1 lap on the mediums and come out in 4th position. So Viscott could get a season high result here, although I'm sure he would much rather have his teammate Single ahead of him. But still 2 ground effects in the top 10 and the top 9 actually. That's a decent recovery considering both Super Venturis are leading at the moment, which somewhat takes the shine off of that. But there is Viscott. He's only about a second behind Maggio here, so we got a great fight for second then. Still in the offing in the final 10 laps, yes.
And with the pit lane drama, I think we were robbed kind of a race battle for the lead, which is a bit of a shame. But at least we get a fight for the podium as Viscott almost lost a bit of time through turn 1 again, almost having to cut the chicane a little bit more as well. And we're down 17 runners after a few people have retired as well. Hopefully we won't lose any more. And we've got 1 driver that's still on the soft. Surely he would have to pit again unless he's just pitted onto them as well. We got, Viscott again just lost it on that sausage curb.
Yeah, Viscott has got the tyre advantage at the moment, but pushing that a little bit too hard on the mediums, has clobbered the curbs at De La Roggia, and yeah, ended up losing a bit of time to Maggio. So that takes a bit of pressure off of Alessandro Maggio. And Maggio, I think, considering the woeful luck he's out at the moment, just pitting early, staying out of trouble, has enabled him to get onto the podium here. I think how dearly he would love to finish in second place in this race. But at the moment, Thomas Smith, he is going to equal the Academy record set by Jerome Quickel in 2015, where he won 5 races in a row. Smith is going to equal that, and that's going to put him, I think, second on the all-time winners in a row list in FSR. I think only one driver has been able to eclipse that back in 2005, of course. There's one driver who's able to win 6 races in a row in the World Championship, of course. But it's rare that we see so many wins in a row in Academy, so that really shows the maturity of Smith. We saw it early in this race when he avoided contact with Flack and held on despite being at a distinct disadvantage to those around him. And we've seen it throughout the season, really, where he's been in situations like, think back to Imola, where Single was closing on him on the fresher tyres. Looked like Single had got the job done, and he fought back right at the end to snatch. He's won races where he really shouldn't have, to be honest. And that really shows the quality of Thomas Smith as a driver this season.
Yes, I think quite a lot still to be untold in terms of stories in this championship, but still a lot could be answered at the end of this as well. And Smith's increased the gap again to about 10.7 seconds, so he's increasing it a little bit more. But look at this, even though Miganov had that trouble already, he's still fighting with the likes of Marsa, and as Miganov going to try and dive it up the left-hand side, he goes for the Les Moans, and he's going to go for the second Les Moan now, and he's up into 8th.
Yeah, he's so much quicker than these guys, Miganov, because remember, he was leading on merit, and in fact, Harvick is going to do the same. So 2 places in quick succession lost by Nando Marsa, which will annoy him after he was having a decent comeback. Brandfarm, I think, has had the most amazing comeback of all of them, because he was down in, I think, 20th at the end of the first lap, and he's gotten back up to 5th, much like the comeback we saw at Spa, although with significantly less retirements aiding him on this occasion. So good job by Dano Brandfarm, the Swede, the super Swede, picking up ground, and I think he is quite a way behind Viscott, though, so it's going to take quite a final stint to catch up. So with Single out of the picture, out of the championship, as now we see the two battling. That's Miganov and Harvick. Oh, please don't come together again, boys. We really don't want to see what we saw on the pit lane entrance not too long ago. And there we go. Miganov just uses a bit of battery, brakes later on the outside, and holds on to that 9th place.
Yep, we move once again. I think a lot of people are starting to get moves done later on as well. We're heading to the final third of this race, and with people obviously having the issues towards the middle half of the race as well, they still want to have a bit of fun as well, and at least they're still going to get some decent points. And 9th gets 12 points and 10th place gets 11 points. So not the end of the world, but ideally they wanted to get like 30 points for the win or 25 points for second place. But at the moment, it's going to go to Thomas Smith. That's going to equal the record so far.
And at the moment, he's in a championship winning position, Thomas Smith, because Saracino is down in 14th. He needs to finish 11th to get the 10 points. He might actually need to finish in the top 10, but I'm pretty sure 14th will not be enough to keep him mathematically in contention then. So Marsa, his position might be looked on enviously by Saracino, but he's quite a way down. I don't think he has enough time left in the race, potentially, unless something crazy happens. Maggio making an extra stop. So that puts Viscott onto the podium. Maggio is having to make an extra stop here, so something has happened to Alessandro Maggio. So the bad luck has struck again, and potentially that could put him down the order here, unless he can get out very quickly. Here comes Seifert, Miganov, and Harvick battling over the main straight then, and Harvick is going to follow Danny Miganov through here, potentially, if he can break late enough. Seifert leaves just enough space, defends the inside. Miganov makes it through. Oh, and Harvick gets a bit of a slide on, pushing the mediums just that little bit too hard. Maggio is pit late on for the soft tyres, as there we go. Harvick completes the move on exit there. So Seifert, remember, pit much earlier than these two, which is why he's struggling at the moment.
Yeah, I think with the earlier pit stops, there's always a risk of the tyres dying a bit more than anybody else, and they may think, oh, I'm on the hard tyres, that I could push it to the end, but maybe not. And the same with the mediums as well. Even though people saw Thomas Schmidt get those mediums to lap 18, it doesn't necessarily mean that you can. It may be that, because Schmidt has some clear air for a lot of it, whereas some of these drivers don't. So they will have to probably do a little bit of tyre saving throughout the entirety of the lap.
Yeah, Viscott in third has actually been setting personal best. He was 3/10 a lap quicker than Scott Flack on the previous lap. But those mediums, surely they're going to sort of meet in the middle as we see the Hyperion of Andrzejewski defending from Bill. He went really almost onto the grass there into Parabolic to get the widest entry he could into that Alboreto named corner. And now we see Harvick just starting to lose a little bit of touch with Miganov. Remember, Miganov will be in action again in the pro race. So despite being hit out of the lead position in the race, as now we see Massa getting his turn to dispense Roy Seifert of that 9th position. He's going to have to make sure he has enough battery to complete the move here. Seifert is still there on the inside, breaks late, and is able to hold on to that position. So Massa had to back out early. He's now focusing on his exit with De La Roggia in mind, I think.
Yeah, De La Roggia can be quite a difficult part of the track if you don't put your mind to it at the moment. And could we see a move through there as well? I believe that is
Massa, yep.
Massa once again for P8.
Oh.
Similar to what we saw with Saracino earlier on.
And Maggio makes his way through after pitting for the soft tyres there. Maggio is going to be one of the fastest men on track once he gets up to speed again because he is on his island. Oh, and Seifert loses it again there because Seifert, out of De La Roggia, he was still had his nose on the inside there. I think he maybe could have given that one up to Massa there. Maybe a bit of inexperience with this car showing for Roy Seifert there. But Massa, luckily, still able to keep going in 10th though. But I think Ground Effect may be a little bit annoyed with Roy Seifert there, costing them crucial points. Andrzejewski, through all of this, he's got himself up into a season high of 5th, fighting with Cedric Bill. He's been holding on brilliantly there. This will be a big result for the Hyperion driver. But they may have to worry about Maggio because his pace on the softs is going to be absolutely electric in these final few laps. He's going to carve his way past Harvick and Miganov if they're not careful. Here comes Bill, though, really mounting a challenge. There needs to make sure he doesn't break and hit the back of the Hyperion, that orange rear wing there, glowing ominously. But the Royal Blue driver, very, very sensible. Cedric Bill gets well out of the throttle. And 4th place, he has to put that on the back burner for the time being, but there's plenty of battery and life left in that Royal Blue to challenge here. So Andrzejewski is going to have to be on his toes if he wants to finish in the top 5 here.
Yeah, I think I have to say, huge surprises with the likes of Redholm in P4 and Andrzejewski in P5 as well. But again, they were the ones who were able to keep it clean as well. Bill in P6 as well. You're just seeing some unknowns around this track, and we saw that in real life as well. 2020 when Pierre Gasly won his first ever Grand Prix with Carlos Sainz in P2 as well. And I remember watching that race and I was like, oh, I don't know who I want to win. They're both good drivers, and we're seeing something similar here with the likes of obviously the fight for P4, 5, 6 and maybe some other positions as well. But we also got the fight for 7th as well, which could be in the fight for the lead as well. But at least we get to see that fight too. There's all a bit of a weaving going on there between the two of them. Maybe some fuel to the fire, maybe after what happened earlier.
Oh, I doubt it. I think they're just trying to break the toe from one another, but hopefully they can keep it clean for the final 5 laps. Maggio, meanwhile, I realized why he had to pit again, because he pit on lap 10 for another set of hard tires. So he'd only been on the hards. He couldn't have got to the end, even though the tires would have been able to manage it probably because of that aggressive strategy trying to undercut those around him. And look at Andrzejewski letting the rear absolutely hang out on the exit of Redifia. Cannot get on the power soon enough. He's feeling so much pressure from Cedric Bill, who senses a chance of 5th place here. He's got the run on the outside of Curva Grande. That will give him the inside comfortably for De La Roggia. Cedric Bill gets into 5th position after a difficult race for Royal Blue. He's the one of the 2 remaining Royal Blues along with Batala, so that will be a big boon for him. Saracino, meanwhile, in his quest to stop Thomas Smith stealing the championship, he's only been able to get up to 14th there, so he's still 2 seconds behind Jared Batala and his teammate Roy Seifert, who could well move over, but that still wouldn't be enough to get him into 11th, with Borotowski another 4 seconds up the road. And look at this, the Hyperion fighting back. Andrzejewski round the outside into Ascari there, Jeff. So very intelligent driving from Pavel not to lose his head despite losing that position.
Yeah, I think the important thing is when you lose that position is to fight back from it. You can't let it dwell on you forever. You've got to be thinking, right, how can I gain that position back or try and maintain the position that you have currently as well? Because sometimes for me, once I lose that position, sometimes there's people that pretty much increase the gap in front of me, and I was like, there's no point running on the path, just focus on what's behind me and make sure that they don't get past me, and then we're all good at the moment. And what we could see, I think Miganov trying to cover off Harvick once again into the Reds video chicane.
Yeah, the thing is, Bill and Andrew fighting each other. They're setting laps in the high to mid 26s, whereas Miganov and Harvick are in the mid 25s. So they're catching hand over fist. Maggio in the mid 24s as well. So we're going to an absolutely grandstand finish in this fight for 5th position here, with 4 or 5 cars all converging at the very, very end of the race through various different strategies that they've all been forced onto for various reasons or another. So Maggio fastest, but he's got to overtake all of them if he wants to finish in the top 5 here. So this could be very, very...
Quite intense as well with Maggio on those soft tyres as they head towards the sky. Don't forget this is a DRS zone in real life, but they have disabled it, remember. We've got 3 more laps to go. This part of the race has gone very, very quickly, and Maggio's gained a lot of speed heading towards the Sky chicane, and he nailed that all right, and the speed he's gaining is massive, and someone has kicked up a little bit of the grass there, heading towards its back straight. That's not ideal, is it?
Yeah, I think Andrewsy wanted to get to the outside line as soon as possible, and perhaps a little bit too eager, and Miganov has got the inside coming out of Alboreto corner on Cedric Bill, but Bill uses a bit of battery deployment to defend. Has he run out before they reach the middle of the straight? Miganov has got so much pace here. Has he got a wheel enough alongside? There's a rear wing missing ahead of them. Somebody's had a huge crash. Bill loses it completely and spins out. Oh, and they all spin trying to avoid him, and Harvick comes off worse, as does Miganov. It's absolute calamity coming out for the red Ophelio here, Jess.
My oh my, there's even more trouble for Miganov and Harvick. When will they ever stop? I don't know, and that's allowed Maggio to climb his way.
I think they were trying to avoid Bill there. I don't think that was completely their fault. And now that looks like Harvick trying to get in front of Bill as they go towards Del Roggia. He's done it. There we go. So that's crucial for Harvick to get some air between himself and Miganov now that he's recovered ahead. But Maggio, that's free positions for him. And now he just focus on catching Andrzejewski.
Yes, I think it was the purpose of them trying to avoid Bill, and it just did not work.
Oh.
So it's Bill that's...
No, this is Canzanieri just completely knocking out some of the bollards. And this is... this looks like Viscott getting ahead of Scott Flack. Oh, and that's what's happened.
They both damaged Scott Flack.
That was the fight for second as well. So Lucas Viscott has clobbered right into Scott Flack, and he's still actually ahead despite losing both front and rear wings. So Viscott's going to come into the pits.
That's what we saw in the background.
Oh dear, that was... I got a feel for Scott Flack, because that wasn't his fault at all, I don't think.
That wasn't his fault.
He was minding his own business around the outside, was potentially happy to let Viscott take the place there, and Viscott just misjudged it, didn't leave enough room on the outside. They tangled wheels, and tale of woe and damage for the pair of them. So Viscott, I think, is staying out despite the damage, and has lost second to Dano Branford. Andrzejewski's going to catch him only 12 seconds down the road then. So Viscott is really risking it, staying out here with no front or rear downforce. That car looks absolutely wretched to drive, Jess.
The question is he going to get it repaired in time? Because he has one.
Yeah, Scott Flack has decided to bail and go into the pits. So he's taken
But Viscott, his car's like he's from a bobsleigh.
Yeah, but the thing is here, if Viscott stays out, he may not be able to finish in the top 5 or 6, but he may be able to deny Saracino getting into the top 10 or top 11, which is absolutely crucial for him. So Roy Seifert may well get a team order from SimSpark to move over, but 11th will not be enough for him to seal the championship on the final lap with Thomas Smith on the way to the win. I'm pretty sure 11th is going to mean he'll be exactly 60 points behind with 60 points on offer. And with the 5 wins in a row for Smith, he won't be able to, even if he equals with winning the remaining races, he won't be able to get enough wins to be ranked ahead if they're equal in that case. Yeah, I'm getting the permutations up. I'm pretty sure officially Smith. There we go. And he's coming into the pits now on the final lap. So,
yeah, you can't drive with a damaged car.
But he should have pit the lap before.
No, it's Maggio that's going to get P3 on
there
those soft tyres, and he's on the podium.
Wow, so double podium for Valle. How quickly it's turned around in the last couple of laps here. But Smith is not far away from potentially sealing the championship. But Viscott is going to come out. He's going to come up behind Saracino, almost certainly. So Saracino in 11th. Surely Roy Seifert will move over to keep his teammate in the points battle, at least mathematically. So Smith, though, surely you've got to say it's a matter of when rather than if he seals this championship now with the margin he's going to have coming out of this. But Branfarm and Maggio, what amazing comebacks they both put in here. And shout out to Andresi just holding on to that 4th.
Yeah, he's just about holding on as well, but you never know, it could all change at a drop of an instant as well. Don't
Here we
forget
go.
first place.
And I think Smith has crossed the line, and that's definitely 5 wins in a row to match the record of almost all-time second on the wins in a row in FSR list of 5 in a row. So he may be able to get 6 in a row if he can win next time out at Suzuka, but potentially it's all about where Saracino finishes now, whether Thomas Smith is going to be champion. So it's really about whether Roy Seifert moves over here, and if he doesn't, then Thomas Smith is going to be officially our Academy champion. Dano Branfom gets his best finish of the season in second. Maggio as well. He's going to get his first Academy podium and a great comeback drive to really rebuild his confidence there. Pavel Andrzejewski gets his best finish in fourth. Harvick and Miganov, it's a case of what could have been for them. But here they come then, and I think Seifert's going to stay ahead then. So as we see Saracino, who's even being challenged by Batala for 11th to come through, it's not going to be enough. Thomas Smith is officially going to be your 2023 Academy champion, and a well-earned victory that is going to be for him and Super Venturi there. Very, very unexpected. They did not expect to seal the championship with 2 races remaining, but Smith, 5 in a row. That is the crowning achievement. He has been unbeatable lately, and despite everything thrown at him, he has come out on top, and that's Super Venturi's first championship in their history in FSR. Wow, Jess.
5 victories and a championship to boot. That is amazing. And even though they're tied on points at the moment with Schmidt and Saracino, Schmidt would be leading the championship on countback anyway with 5 wins.
They're not tied on points. They're 60 points apart with 60 left on offer. So
yeah,
yes.
exactly. Yeah. And Schmidt with the wins, that meant that Saracino would have had to finish 10th. And I think if Seifert knew that, he probably would have let him through anyway, but what a deserved championship for Smith. He doesn't have to worry about it too much for the final 2 rounds. If I were him, just for a bit of fun, start the back, Smith.
He may even have a few donuts here. Let's see. And it's donuts for a championship. Yeah, it's a lovely place to win the championship because there's lots of wide runoff here at the main straight to do donuts. And of course, we don't see too many championships decided as early as Monza. I think Smith can feel justifiably proud with how early he's been able to wrap things up. Really, his title, they ended up tripping over the opposition and each other, really. And Smith, he just did not put a foot wrong in the last 5 races especially, but really all season never finished outside the top 4. His worst result coming right in the opener in Bahrain. But this really shows how much he's grown from his first season with Severin Arrows as well. As a Super Venturi driver, Smith has been impeccable. And now we get confirmation. Smith wins 5 in a row and the Academy Championship, which is a big boon for him. Hopefully we can have a word with him in the broadcast before he leaves to celebrate, which I'm sure he will, with the entire Super Venturi team. But also celebrating will be Valet. It's a 2-3 for them with Dano Branfom taking his 2nd podium of the season. Alessandro Maggio, despite having to make an extra stop, somehow recovering up to 3rd with that late overtake on Pavel Andrzejewski, who nonetheless gets Hyperion and his best result of the season. Matthias Harvick and Miganov, they could well have been fighting for victory, but tangling on the pit lane entry, that means they only finish 5th and 6th. And Harvick, of course, tangling with Saracino as well. It wasn't the cleanest of runs, sadly, for him after that great result with Miganov. He'll be in action again in Pro, but another golden opportunity gone for the Valet, who still nonetheless recovers to 6th. Massa gets to 7th then. His teammate was able to, get into... I'm confused here. Cedric Bill actually finishes 8th ahead of Bortowski and Roy Seifert, of course, who denied Saracino a chance to stay mathematically in the title fight. Yeah, Jared Patala ends 12th with Scott Flack, a lowly 13th after being taken out by Lucas Viscott right at the end. Both of them really sabotaging a chance at the podium there, but especially Viscott with that move. It maybe could have been a little bit cleaner there, and you got to feel a bit for Scott Flack, our pole sitter. Giuseppe Canzonieri finishes 15th ahead of Hayden Cownan, and the finish is rounded out by Perseus Miram, who of course hit I think Silviera right at the start, and it's single Silviera Luxac who begins our long list of retirements. It was a day of attrition here. Actually, Velistra and Louis Smith, the only other retirements then. So I'm remembering more. I'm misremembering the number of retirements already. So we are joined now by our new FSR Academy champion of 2023, somewhat unexpectedly, but he's just won 5 in a row to put him second in the all-time wins in a row list, joining such illustrious company as Jeroen Kwijkwal. Jerne Simoncic as well was the last to do it in the World Championship in 2019. It is, of course, Super Venturi's very own Thomas Smit. Thomas, congratulations. What an excellent race you put in there. And it did look a bit dodgy when your teammate spun in front of you, but you didn't panic. You got on the brakes, you avoided disaster, and then while all around you lost your heads, you kept yours. And the reward is not just the 5th win of the season, a 5th win in a row, but the championship as well. How do you feel?
Yeah, it's great, man. Full season has been going great, I think. Only got better. Yeah, it was a bit touchy with Scott, but yeah, I had all the time to avoid it. Yeah, all the races have been great. Really fortunate to be in Super Venturi this year, because I guess you can see it's a lot better than last year, the results and everything. So thanks for that to the team. And yeah, it's always been fun driving here in FSR. So yeah, I'm happy.
I talked to Marco Frelick before the race, and he pointed out the 5 in a row record to me, and he said, "Oh, we're probably going to get that, but I don't think we're going to seal the championship today." So even he didn't think you're going to be celebrating just yet. Was it a surprise to you as well, or did you think deep down you might be able to do it today?
Yeah, I don't know what happened, but I was in like a group of Sacchino and Single, so those should be like, they should have been above like a certain position to still be in the fight, but I guess they crashed or something because they were
Single
gone.
just went straight into the garage and retired for mysterious reasons we don't know yet. And then Harvick and Miganov braked a bit late going into the pit lane and crashed into the back, and they actually blocked the pit entry very briefly. It was a bit of a chaotic moment there. So
Yeah, typical Academia.
yeah, well, we saw a little bit on the first start as well, where I'm sure that must have been a bit nervy for you and your teammates. Scott Flack on the front row, having to restart the race again after all that chaos. But
Yeah, I saw it in the mirror. It was funny, man. It was funny to watch in the mirror. I mean,
we
I
can
was
laugh about
expecting
it now, but if that happened again, Cas would have had to end the race, and you would have had to wait another race before becoming champion.
Cas was angry for the drivers. I mean, we really need to have some standards here. I guess he's right about that. But yeah, that was fun.
Yes, do you have any questions for our new Academy champion?
Well, I'd just like to say massive congratulations. You've been in control in the last 5 races as well. Obviously, when you had the first round in Bahrain, did you think you had a chance back then, or were you just taking it race by race?
Yeah, I was watching race by race, but I already thought I had a chance because Bahrain was really bad, and I thought, I was far from Bahrain. Yeah, I have some pace in left in the tank, so not pace, but I thought, I'm definitely gonna win a race, so why not the championship, right?
Wow, that really shows the confidence you had, and it's been a pleasure to commentate on that championship run, Thomas. I guess is pro next for you next season, or is it too early to think about next season with 2 more races to go?
Yeah, I'm gonna replace one driver in pro in Suzuka, so we'll see about that. So that's gonna be my first pro race, so that's gonna be fun.
Well, best of luck to you there. But congratulations to our new champion in Academy, Super Venturi's Holland's very own. I'm sure Max Verstappen fans have something else nationally to celebrate, and that's, of course, your new Academy champion, Thomas Smit. So everyone give him a big round of applause, and you can justifiably celebrate that with, I'm sure, plenty of champagne tonight, Thomas.
Yep. Yes, thank you. Cheers.
So, as our new champion vacates the commentary box, we look forward to him potentially even making it 6 in a row next time out in Academy at Suzuka. Jess, that would be something, because that is the all-time record set back in, I think, like I said, 2005, if I'm not mistaken. I forget which driver it was.
That was
in the World Championship as well. So yeah, it's a record that stood for nearly 18, 17 years. So almost as long as FSR's been going, actually. But that is, of course, on the 1st of October, day before my birthday, just a reminder. So I don't need to get any presents, so don't worry about it.
Give him presents.
I'm sure I'll get plenty, don't worry about it. But I've already sent my wish list to my parents, so don't worry. But anyway, more relevantly, we've still got more action in Monza to come, and it's going to be me and Omi Zaidi, you know very well, Jess, taking us through the pro race. And it's going to be very soon because we did have to delay things because the restart, but that's going to be in about 20-25 minutes time that we're going to get pro underway at Monza. But after that, the World Championship, of course, in the evening, starting at 7. So make sure you don't miss that because that's going to be great. So thank you, of course, to VCO Esports for supporting us. Thanks to you, Jess, for joining me in commentary. I hope you really enjoyed that. It's not every day you see Academy Champion crowned. So great to have you alongside.
I get to witness it, so it was good, and I really enjoyed that one. Looking forward to the race in October. It's going to be fun.
It certainly will. I'm sure Pro and World Championship will live up to the drama we've seen today. But thank you to Cas as well for not only race directing, but also managing the broadcast superbly. Lots of plates to juggle, and Cas was on top of all of them. And thanks to the viewers for watching and listening and being there to witness our new Academy Champion. So 5 in a row then for Thomas Smith, but still Pro and World Championship to come. Thanks for watching. Don't go away because we'll be back before too long. Soon.
Hello, I'm Jack Nichols and welcome to Home Sports.
Who's going to break their fifth world title?
For Mike Gosby. Oh, he's done it. And
Look at these two go.
Itchy Hoy's going to do it. His first victory.
The World Championship is done. What a race it's been.